Communication so real, no cap. A different language for woman and man. Decode the language and you'll understand. Nah, it'll help you out. Rest assured, women have no doubt. Pillow talk, dinner talk. Give you the info to walk the walk. Nah, sometimes it's a foreign language. Now know what's up, don't mistake it. This'll help you every situation. Empower yourself, it's liberating, yeah. Communication, don't need no speculation. Just get that clarification, then reconciliation. Man translation, yeah. Man translation, yeah.
What's up? What's up? What's up, people? We gave y'all a break last Sunday. Did your team win? Did they cut y'all a check? Did you get a check in the mail because your team won? Welcome to Man Translation. We're back another Sunday. I'm Scott C, the CEO and producer. This is Dante V, the relationship and communication strategist, because you need a strategy, you need a plan to get from point A to point B. Okay, you're just not gonna hop your little self on over there. You need to go step by step, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today we're going to be talking about, in Man Translation, we're going to be talking about another aspect of relationships. We're going to be talking about a big one, and I might stay on this one for a while. We're going to be talking about identity. We talk about cutting edge things on this show. We talk about things that you had never heard of before. We talk about relationships with your family, your supervisor, there's all kind of relationships, any kind of relationship with your dog, your cat, all kinds of relationships. We need to foster strong relationships in this culture in order to move the culture forward. People have horrible relationships. Y'all don't really know what it really takes to make a relationship even work. So today we're going to be talking about identity, the power of identity, how embracing your individuality strengthens your relationships, all of your relationships, all of them. But I was really concerned. I'm concerned about some things. And I'm concerned about how everybody feels as though they got to be like everybody else. Everybody is looking the same. Everybody is pretty much dressing the same. Everybody's trying to get BBLs. I mean, there's no individuality.
You ain't got it. That's what it is.
No, that is
I'm just not looking for the acceptance. I really don't care.
That is just not the way it works. In order for relationships, I have to always talk about myself, right? And this is personal. This is very personal. When I got divorced, I had no idea to know who I was. As amazing as I am, can you believe it? I did not know who I was, because you get married at 19, you never spend time with yourself, having a relationship with you to get to know you. Who are you? What do you like? What don't you like? You have now immersed yourself into a relationship and you don't even know who you are. What do you bring to the relationship? And I'm seeing this like all over the place, everywhere. It is what's going to cause the most problems in your relationships is lack of identity. Lack of identity leads to lack of confidence, lack of self-esteem, and it's the reason why people are insecure and jealous of other people. When you don't know who you are and you see somebody doing something that secretly in your heart you feel like you maybe you could do that, why aren't you doing it? You really have to. I went through this for years. You go from living with your parents, and then from your parents you get married. At what point do you sit down with you and begin to just find out who you are?
It's really supposed to be you graduate high school and you're just out there on your own.
Right.
Like if you go to college, yeah, okay, go ahead and do the college experience, but learn who you are, what you have. Do you have what it takes? And for the people who they're not college and you decide I'm moving out when I turn 18, that's your time to go through those trials, tribulations, and really see what you're made of.
But
You don't have it that way.
college also kind of helps you, kind of find. Because I remember being in ninth grade, going to my guidance counselor. I remember just spending a lot of time with my guidance counselor because even in high school, middle school and high school, you're starting to ask these questions of yourself, like, who am I? Why am I
Mhm.
here? What's my purpose? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing? With my life. And a lot of times we take indicators from what our friends are doing. Oh, well, he played basketball. Well, let me play basketball. And then you start playing basketball and then you suck at playing basketball
Yep,
or
that's
whatever
happened to me.
sport, tennis,
Basketball was it.
right. So I think that we need to start to begin to foster the identity of our children at really a young age so that they can,
Absolutely.
by the time they leave, if they do decide to leave home at 18, which, like, 18, anytime there's a teen in your age, you ain't grown. You don't need to be leaving home at no 18. You need to be
No,
either.
that's the pressure that's put on the well. I can say the majority, not all, but the majority of the black community. Yeah, when you turn 18, either they getting kicked out or they trying to leave anyway. Whereas the other societies, other races, nah, you stay here, either work in the family business or go to college, come home, get your job, save your money for 2 3 years, buy your house, get out. But at least at that point you're established. We're just kicked out with nothing. Just
I
figure it
think
out.
it goes back to the societal norm. Society says, "Oh, when you're 18, that you're grown." I don't think that that's really something that because I think parents know that at 18 their children are not ready to leave home.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
society says at 18 you're grown. I don't believe that you're grown at 18.
I don't. Well, no, because again, we're gonna go back to your favorite subject, that good old cerebral cortex. That thing ain't developed. That
Yeah.
thing is not developed, and you
I was
like.
going to talk about the brain tonight, Dante. I wasn't going to talk about the brain.
I mean, it ties into it. I mean, we got older people out here, 25 up.
Yeah.
Cerebral cortex ain't what it is, and they out here, just being 18, but she's
Yeah.
25 or
And
40.
that's the whole thing. The law tells you that you're grown at 18, but yet your brain is not finished developing. So go figure. But
Yeah, which one is it?
I want us to do what we always do, stick to the format of the show where we identify and define, what words are and what things are. So I really want to define really what your identity is. So your identity, it refers to the characteristics, your qualities, your beliefs, your values, and your interests. And these things, like your values and your beliefs, they change as you evolve and as you change. And so if you're hooking up in relationships and you don't really know what do you believe, and I always say, what do you believe at the core of who
Mhm.
you are? Because if somebody can change your mind so easily, then you're not really believing what you think you're believing. The thing that I always talk about that I grew up with was values. My grandmother, she taught me values. And one of the main values that she taught me was to not have sex before marriage, and if you were going to have children, have them and have a husband when you have them. And so, while a lot of my friends growing up in the projects, they were sleeping with people. And because I guess, I don't know why people thought I was a part of that whole little crowd or whatever, but because that value was instilled in me, and then the stuff that I saw, like I saw how dudes was treating the girls, it was really easy for me to stay celibate and
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
sleep with anybody because I didn't like the way I saw my friends get treated. I didn't like the way I saw my mom get treated. So that value was instilled in me, and I grew up with that value. I grew up with that value. I've never believed in, sleeping with somebody on the first date and all of that. I just feel like that is something that's just reserved for your husband. And if you don't have a husband, well, I guess you won't be doing no hoochie coochie. You know what I'm saying? And for some people, that's old fashioned. But the heartache and the heartbreak and the disappointment and the discouragement that I see in women, I'm glad that
Mhm.
my grandmother instilled that value in me. And it's the reason why I don't have a lot of broken relationships in my past, because I'm not with all that. You know what I mean? So identity is very important. So those values and those interests and those beliefs and what you believe, your characteristics, all of those play, as a part of your identity and who you are. And so it also fosters your individuality. I don't really see you can't be authentic without being an individual. And we throw
Right.
this word authenticity around all the time. But you're a follower, you're a copycat.
Because people only use the word authentic when it applies to something that they are receiving, not when it necessarily applies to themselves. So they want the authenticity because they benefit from it. Whereas though the people who are actually being authentic, it offends the other person's view of being authentic. So now you're not being authentic, or you're being
But the
fake,
thing
or you're
is
not genuine.
that when you are authentic, you're authentic because you've tapped into your own identity. And when you tap into your own identity, it really exposes the fake people. Really is what it does. So that's really why a lot of times you be trying to figure out why people don't like you, because you've exposed their phony just by being you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just never really been a fan of people not like, okay, what are we gonna do now? Because we ain't got to deal with each other.
Well, because see, that's what I'm saying. It all feeds and lends itself to your self-esteem. When you're your own individual person, and right now we need to foster that identity in our children, because when you're not authentic, you won't speak up. It takes away your voice. You will not speak up. You will not speak out because you're too afraid of what people will think about you. You got to first know, what do you think about yourself? What do you think about you? You won't speak up at work when there's an injustice. You'll just get by the water cooler and gossip with everybody else. But when it comes time to be a voice for your job, where everybody's going to benefit. I've been in this position too many times where I'm the voice, but people don't like the fact that I'm speaking out. But because I'm speaking out, whatever I benefit, you're going to benefit too.
Right? Yeah. No.
Because in order for you to make a difference, you have to be different. And nobody wants to be different. You're already different. Already. You got to embrace the difference. And what makes you different? What makes you different is your perspective, your gifts, your talents, your outlook, your values, your beliefs. Those things make you unique. And those are the things that we need. We need forward thinkers. We need out of the box thinkers. While we got China, they over here in the ninth grade learning quantum physics. We over here worried about Louis Vuitton and Balenciaga. Why? Because we don't have our own identity, so we put somebody else's name on our back to give us identity. And so this is a huge, thing that we're overlooking and not even examining in relationships. Like, why is the relationship not working? Why don't you get along with anybody? You don't get along with nobody. You got a problem with everybody. You criticize everybody. You're a fault finder with everybody because you're discontent within yourself and lost.
And you're also projecting yourself onto other people because you can easily find how you are based off what someone else is doing or what you think that they're doing. So you project your insecurities on them. So
But what is
therefore it's
projected?
always a problem.
What is a projection? What is a
You said what's
project?
a
What is a project? A project? What is a projection for
the
real?
projection is of the self or the image of yourself. You're trying to put that off on someone else,
Right.
more so as a distraction, so you don't have to deal with what you just projected. Tell
But,
them on
but
yourself.
but what a projection really is, in order for you, whether it's a camera or a real projector, in order for a
Mhm.
projector to work, it has to have a mirror. Remember concave, you have a concave, the mirror is concave inside the projector. So in order in order for you to project, you have to look in the mirror. So the only thing you're projecting is what's already inside of you. So really what you're really doing is you're really looking at yourself. That
Mhm.
person really is a mirror of what's going on inside of you. And so that's what happens in the technical side of a projector. In the technical side of a camera, you need a mirror. In order for the projection, it has to cast an image or it has to cast an identity. And then the identity with the light goes up on the screen. You know what I'm saying? And
Right, I
so
get
it's
it.
really when you're projecting on somebody else, you're really talking about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, and then if I look at it like they're trying to distract themselves from themselves.
But why would you want to run away from you when you are the one, you are the one that has to step into to your own greatness. And the
Right.
thing that makes you different is the thing that makes you great. But the thing that makes you different is normally the thing that people don't like about themselves. That very thing that makes them different, that is the very thing that they hate about themselves. You hear people talk about, oh, I had a big nose and this and that, and I had this scar on my face or whatever. They become some of the most celebrated people when they embrace the thing that makes them different. The
Right.
thing that makes you different is the thing that makes you unique, which makes you stand out. That's what makes you stand out. And so it's not about you in relation to somebody else. It's you in relation to yourself, your self-image, and how you see yourself. You can call me whatever you want to call me all day long. But there's nothing more important than what I call myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to agree with not one thing you called me when I know exactly who I am.
Now, people want to debate how they feel some type of way about you, but they want you to debate with them like it's a sign of approval. When I could really care
No,
less.
no, you could say whatever. Your words do not have more power in my life than my words have in my own life. Because nothing starts with anybody else. It all starts and begins and it ends with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's we are literally lacking identity. I mean, just don't know who you are. Period. You're wearing everybody else's name on your back. You're following and doing. And I understand trends and things like that. But when it comes down to the essence, to the core of who you are, who
Mm-hmm.
are you? That's it. What are your characteristics? What is it? Do you really know what you bring to the table in a relationship? A man will put you in the sex zone only if you let him put you in the sex zone. You cannot categorize and put me in a box that I don't belong in without my permission.
That's also true. Yes, you are what you allow.
Yeah, without my permission. So if I don't know who I am as a woman, then the only way that you're gonna spend time with me is if I sleep with you. No, I'm not. Oh no, but I'm not marriage material, wife material. I'm just a booty call material.
Just South Africa right now.
That means you lack identity. Why is it that you cannot say, nah, bro, we don't even play like that. We don't even play them types of games. Okay, you can go play them games with someone else. Because we don't play them types of games over here on this side. Take that right on someplace. Okay, just keep stepping with that. Move on
Definitely
around.
not gonna keep trying.
Nah, we not doing that. Mm-mm. And we do that with everything. We have all this stuff that's going on, in the world, and everybody keeps saying we got to come together, we got to pull together, we got to come together.
But ain't nobody coming together. Nobody's taking that first step. No one's implementing anything so people can actually come together so we can stay together. Hell, we can't even hash out differences without somebody getting cut off because they can't handle.
And that goes back to identity as well. Everybody in a family has a
Mhm.
different that brings something different to the table. If my leg and my foot keep arguing about, well, you don't do what I do and I don't do what you do, and then nothing gets done, you retarded. You got cerebral palsy. Something wrong with you. If your leg doing one thing and your leg trying to act like your arm and your arm trying to act like your eye, you know what I'm saying? Your fingers trying to copy off of your ear. Your body is all exactly. It's just all
Goddamn,
messed up.
goddamn Frankenstein,
You
what's happening here?
you bring every person brings something different to the table. I don't need you to think like me. I don't need you to be me. I don't need you to talk like me, sound like what, or any of that. I need you to be you. I need
Mhm.
you to be authentically you based on the identity that is unique to you. I don't need you to see my perspective. I need your perspective. Families are supposed to be different. Everybody in the family is not the same. The Bible says every joint supplies. A box of puzzles don't be in there fighting. Well, you're not shaped like me. Well, you ain't supposed to be in the box. Then go jump yourself in another box. Because what happens is when you don't know identity and you go jump yourself in another box, guess what? You don't fit in because that's not where you belong. You know what I'm saying? And so I listen to people, they have differences, they think that's a bad thing. Having differences is not a bad thing. Having confrontations is not a bad thing. What's a confrontation? That means having a conversation in front of. That,
People think that's a bad thing. They
they
think
think it's
it's
a bad
all
thing.
negative or you ready to fight or whatever. I'm very confrontational. If you got something to say, let's talk about it. If not, then all right,
So
go away.
two words: conversation, front facing. A front facing conversation. But when you lack identity and you don't know who you are and you don't have any confidence and you don't have no self esteem and you want everybody to agree with you and you want everybody to like you and you don't want to be controversial and you care about what other people think more than you think about yourself, you're not going to confront the situation. You're not going to have a conversation that's front facing and that's
Hmm.
forward thinking.
No.
I
Mm-mm.
don't need my children to I'm not a dictator. I don't need to dictate to them as their mother how they think. I need to raise them to have their own mind and to be interdependent in God only. I'm not going to always be here. I need them to learn how to think. I need to give them the information. I need to set the example for them on a consistent basis, and then when they become adults they could think and figure things out for themselves without having to
Right.
call me up every 5 minutes. Well, and then this has happened. Okay, well, what did you do about it then? Once you become an adult, your parents become a last resource now
Mm-hmm.
because they've taught you, they've poured into you, they've done what they're supposed to do. I don't need you to think like me. I need you to think like you. I need you to have your own perspective. I need you to have your own identity. We have enough things in common because you're my child. We're gonna have a lot of similarities anyway, because I gave birth to you. But there is some unique things that you're going to have on your own. I don't need you to be quiet. I need you to speak up. I don't need you to worry about, well, if I say this, then she gonna get mad. So what is so? So if she do, maybe she won't. Stop assuming. Stop jumping to conclusions about
Please don't get me started on that. That is the most frustrating thing. People will just ask the question, get it out of the way. Either you're gonna get an answer or you're not. Like you left me to assume. No, I just didn't answer your question because it was possible it's irrelevant.
it. I need us to foster identity within our children, because our communities, we're starting to look like robots. It's starting to really look. And so, you know what? TV has really told us their definitions of what they think things are. A zombie is not really a person that's walking around all slow like this. A zombie is somebody that with a dead brain that can't think.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a zombie is.
And we definitely have a generation coming up for people who do not think.
Not
Like
think.
there are no consequences for their like they're literally sociopaths. There's no consequences for their actions.
Yeah.
Everything is gonna be all right. It just is what it is with them.
And you deal with it. You deal with it in your families. You deal with it mainly a lot at these jobs. You got so many, butt lickers and boot lickers and followers,
At the bottom.
and bottom feeders at the job. When the person that stands out to be different, that's the person that they gossip about. That's
And
the
that's
person.
also the person that's targeted.
Why? Because they don't have the courage. It takes courage to be different. There's a book called It Takes Courage to Be Disliked. Oh my God. Yes, it does. But when you stand in your identity, there's a strength that you have.
Mm-hmm.
I can care less about what you say about me behind my back. I can care less.
Yeah, no, you didn't have
Be
to.
careful about what you say in my face.
That's a whole
Okay.
different story.
So
You're
we
walking
are
over,
we're
but you're looking
so
back.
afraid so worried about what people think about us because we haven't sat down and really thought about, like, what are my interests, what are my values, what are my beliefs. When we don't know what we think about us, that's when we start caring about what other people think about us. I'm getting ready
Mhm.
to start the podcast back up. I've been working on so many things. It's terrible. It's almost time for me to start hiring people. But the thing is that I'm getting ready to do this podcast series called the Project Chronicles. And the reason why I'm going to do the Project Chronicles is because a few reasons actually. But I just didn't realize how much similarities there is between the things that you learn growing up in the projects and running a business. Like, I did not realize that, because see, a lot of times in life we ask the question, why I'm here, and why do we live here, and why don't we this, and why don't we that. There are some things that you learn growing up in the projects, and one of those things is resourcefulness.
Mm.
It taught me to be so resourceful. People would be like, how did you find this, how did you get that? And
I
I
had no
just,
choice.
you have no choice. And those skills that you develop growing up in the project because you lack. See, y'all keep looking at poor as the lack of money. But money does not make you rich, and it doesn't make you poor. Money is just a medium of exchange. And if they change it, if they take it away and change it to something else, then the medium of exchange will be whatever you make it.
Right.
And so we have to start, we have to get away from money and start talking about value. So you learn some very valuable lessons. Can you still hear me?
I consider, yeah.
Okay, because they got me stuck. Okay, that picture is, and I'm not gonna start it over. But you know, you learn some very valuable lessons. Some very valuable lessons. You know, growing up in so-called poverty. Very
Uh-huh.
valuable lessons you learn. Because I think I shook my table, and so that
Yeah.
messed up my internet. I know, and it got me stuck on that picture. But y'all can still hear me. That's the most important thing. And
Uh-huh.
so it all goes back to identity. You know, identity and how your identity is formed, and how you come out of and deal with certain situations is all based on how you see yourself in relation to the situation. But if you have no identity, you're going to always be stuck. Whether
Right.
you're stuck at a dead end job, whether you're stuck in a bad relationship, it's not the other person that's making you stuck. What's making you stuck is you don't know who you are.
What happened? You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm waiting for you to respond. I'm still here. I'm not going to reboot. I'm just going to keep, we're
Yeah,
going to
no,
keep,
no. No,
we just,
most people don't. But and they're literally a chameleon to their surroundings and or the people around them because they don't have an identity. So it's that you become what you're around rather than rising or overcoming your surroundings to be what you need to be.
but I think that when you're in that place of conditioning, and I heard this one girl, she said when you were, excuse me, she said when you're a child, that's the time that, because children, they watch everything.
Uh-huh.
For real, that's when you're forming your identity. I remember being like 15 and 16 and making decisions and formulating my beliefs on the things that I saw and the things that I experienced. And I was like, man, when I grew up, I don't want to be like this, and I don't want to be
Uh-huh.
like that. You know what I'm saying? That's when you begin to formulate your beliefs. It's also a time when you adopt the beliefs of, your family might be Catholic. We went to school with people that went to Catholic school. We lived, our projects was down the street from a Catholic school. And so some of us was Catholic, some people were Christian, some people were Muslim. You know what I'm saying? This is when your belief system begins to, and it seems like people grow up and forget the stuff that they learned, the stuff that they saw, the stuff that really conditioned them and really was there to teach you. Instead of you be like, well, we was poor and we had to eat sugar sandwiches, you know.
Man, let me expound on this because that's another thing that's frustrating. When people focus so much on the condition or where they are versus how to get out of it. Like, okay, you poor, you ain't got no money, you had to eat sugar sandwiches, you you ate. Like it probably wasn't what you wanted, but you still ate.
Right,
And fast forward 10 years later, you could be an adult, you could be successful, you got a job, you're not in that same predicament that you're in. Why are we still holding on to it?
right,
You're not
right.
eating sugar sandwiches. Man, you might eat a sugar sandwich every once in a while just because you know that it's in you. But also, with that being said, it's not. Like, why are we holding on to those? Are we looking for attention? Are we seeking attention? Are we using that story for pity, or are we using it as a part of this is the struggle story? Like, which one is it?
Because I think when people reflect on their experiences, instead of learning from it, this is all part of your identity. Instead of you learning, what is it that you were supposed to learn? What were you supposed to
That
learn? You're
often
supposed to learn something. Instead
that
of you
often
being
gets missed.
Instead of you being bitter about it, instead of you complaining about it, instead of you talking about it year after year, it was something that you were supposed to learn, and it was formulating. It was formulating something. That's one of the parts of the series that I'm going to talk about is growing up in the projects. You deal with a lot of failures. Deal with a lot of failures.
Yeah.
But failure is what teaches you. And I'm going to correlate the Project Chronicles, and I'm gonna parallel it with business. In business, you have a lot of failures. In business,
Mm-hmm.
if you can't handle failure, if you can't handle rejection, if you can't handle disappointment, if you can't handle discouragement, do not start a business. Please don't. Stop letting these people on the internet think you can roll out the
They
bed
tell
and
you
make.
any damn thing.
No, 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 baby. If you don't have any resilientness, if you don't have any stick to itiveness, if you don't have any,
Stick to itiveness.
bounce
Stick to
backness,
itiveness.
you're gonna have a hard time in business because it is about character. And character is a large part of your identity. It is a large part of your identity. Large part.
Mm-hmm.
I have said a few times that I don't really want to come up against Beyonce because Beyonce done been beat up enough this week. But Beyonce is in the news with Adidas because Adidas is blaming Beyonce for losing, millions and millions of dollars. Okay, but y'all have heard me say that before. Okay, my major is business and my minor is finance. One of the things in business that we do is we do a lot of case studies and we do business audits. So once you do enough business audits, you can look at a business and a brand, and you can tell whether or not, forecast whether or not they're going to make money, not make money, whether it's a good match. I've been saying forever, Beyonce is not a good match for Adidas. Why? It doesn't fit her identity.
Mm-hmm.
Your brand is your identity. You've created a brand or an identity. What is her brand? What is her identity? Sex, sexy, seductress. She need to go make some pocketbooks or she can sell some shirts, but some athletic clothes, that ain't happening. That's not happening. Now,
I don't know about that. I think it's a thing. It can work. But go ahead.
Sierra, Sierra is very athletic and she's very edgy, but she's mainly very athletic. Sierra would have killed it. She would have killed it. What's the other girl? Janet. If they would have got Janet, Janet got that edge about her. Even though she's sexy, she got that tomboy thing going. Janet would have killed it. What's the other girl? Tiana Taylor. Tiana would have killed.
Oh yeah.
Tiana
Yeah.
would have just killed it because why? It fits into their identity. And a lot of times people are not successful because they don't know how to take. That's what a brand is, to take your identity and who you are and put it in a package and price it and sell it in the marketplace. And so that's why a lot of people are not really good at sales because they don't know who they are. They don't know who their company is. When you create a business, I remember God laid this in my spirit. He said, when you create a business, you are recreating yourself in a different form. It is my identity, is my spirit. It is, so that means that I have to be authentic, and I cannot be authentic if I don't know who I am.
Right.
And I can't sell it if I don't know who I am. That's why there's a disconnect between Beyonce and Adidas because she's not being true to her identity. And it speaks to something personal that's probably going on with her. And so when you're authentic, it's because you've tapped into your own identity. You've tapped into your uniqueness. You've tapped into your own different way of doing and being who you are. And nobody can beat you at it. So therefore, you ain't got no competition. I love the fact that Rihanna came on and was Rihanna. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
She did not come on. She didn't get on all fours. She didn't spin her head around. She didn't roll around on the floor. She didn't come on trying to be Beyonce. She came on being Rihanna.
Yeah, because I know she damn sure don't care. She definitely gonna do her.
Because when you're in your own identity, you don't care. You don't. You could care less. So I love that. She came on, she was Rihanna. She wasn't worried about what nobody was saying. She still got what she got. And she promoted her brand and made more money because it
Hmm.
wasn't about the Super Bowl for her. It was about people who had not heard of her product being introduced to her product.
So she was going exposed.
That's what she was there, and that's what she did. And she did it very well. And she stayed true to herself. She don't have to copy off of Beyonce. She has her own identity. And that's what I want our young people to have. That's what I want us to have as a culture. I want us to stand in our own identity, in our own difference, in our own uniqueness. You don't have to copy off of anybody. Nobody has to
Mm.
be like you. You don't have to be like anybody. I want you to get a piece of paper, write down what your values are. What are your belief system? What makes you you? What makes you you? Period. We need every single person's perspective. I don't need your perspective to be like mine because your perspective can't be like mine anyway. Because we grew up in different places, we have different comprehension, different education levels. All of
Hmm.
that comes into a play of what makes you up as a person. How are we going to strengthen relationships when we have no individuality?
No, dealing with a whole bunch of yes men and yes women until somebody gets fed up. Everybody's following everybody. It's definitely not going to work.
But you cannot, if you don't identify what you're strong at, you don't even know what kind of job to pick for yourself.
Whew.
Because you got to know what your strengths are. What are you good at? We're not talking about what you went to school and learned. What are you good at? For as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a businesswoman. I don't even know how I got married. I don't know where that came from. It was never on the list or nothing. I was like, I'm gonna go to college for business. I didn't know what kind of business, but I knew I was gonna go to college for business. That's all I wanted to be.
Exactly.
And then when I saw Oprah come on TV, I'm like, yeah, I want to do what she doing. Because I identified, not copied,
Hmm.
I identified. I identified with the fact that she was single and she had a career. I can identify
You,
with that. That
you and
spoke,
the single.
yes, and she's still single with a man and single. So I identified with that. That resonated with me. That spoke to me. I'm like, I want to go to college. I want to, I want to have a business. And I was always good with money. I've always been good with money. Always. I know how to take a penny and stretch it all the way. Always was good with money. So it was natural for me to do business and finance because it's really what you know what I'm saying. So
Right.
we have to really tap into our own psyche and our own mind. Everything I do, people are like, well, what made you do that? Because it's natural to me. What made me
Hmm.
start a podcast? Started my podcast when podcast wasn't popular. It weren't popular when I started my podcast. Not everybody got a podcast because it's natural. It is natural for me. It fits into my identity. I don't always want to be in front of the camera. I should just put my picture up there, huh? Now it just caught me on that. On that.
Hmm.
And so I just want us to really evaluate what our values are. Think about what do you stand for? Like what matters to you? What's important to you? Your foundation of who you are is built on your identity. When you don't have that, you like just a little twig tossed in the wind.
All right.
What is that face now? It's true. It's true. That's why we don't have strong relationships. People are in these relationships and in these marriages, they miserable because they cannot be who they really are. If you don't accept me for who I really am, then you ain't accepting me. TF says individuality is so important in relationships. Yes, 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 it is. Not having a life or knowing who you are outside of your partner and or in a relationship is very unfulfilling and draining. It
Yes.
is.
Yes, it is.
And not only is it unfulfilling, it's miserable.
And then once you get out that relationship, you still stuck trying to figure out who the hell you are.
When you don't have identity, you're gonna be stuck no matter where you are. Whether you
That's
at your
also true.
job, all your relationships are gonna be stuck. You can't build a strong relationship if you don't have any identity. You were not created to be a follower. You were not.
Or pay these bills, but
Which is the
it is
reason
what it
why
is.
we all have our own fingerprint. Nobody has a fingerprint like you. Nobody in the world. That's how unique you are. You have to tap into that uniqueness. And if that and not only that, I learned this at a very young age. When you are different, it's going to automatically make you stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Automatically. Oftentimes people be like, Miss Chase, how I'm going to stand out from the other businesses. And I always say, just be yourself. If you be yourself, you're going to automatically stand out because there's not another one of you. And every time you forget that, look at your fingerprints to remind you there's not another one of you. It's only one of you. You can't beat me being me. You got to be kidding me. You cannot beat me being me. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much money you have. I do not care. You cannot beat me being me, period. And that kind of identity and that kind of confidence, it shines through. I go in places, I never have to open my mouth. People automatically gravitate towards me because I don't have to be a part of the crowd or a part of the clique. I can stand on my own.
And
I
you
don't
do
need the
that.
consensus. Don't need your vote. I'm in total agreement with everything about me. My strengths, my weaknesses, all of it. It makes up who I am. All of it. And we have to foster this in our children. That child that's being bullied because it's something unique and it's something different that doesn't fit in with the rest of the people, and they trying to get that child to assimilate. That's what that is. They're trying to get that child to assimilate. It's time to teach that child identity and courage.
Mm-hmm.
When your child is being bullied, your child needs courage to speak up for who they are. If they can speak up for who they are young, you ain't gonna have no problems out of them when they get older.
Yeah, and also not to be a conformist, and let's go add a little bit of respect in there too, because a lot of adults try to silence children, although they're being very respectful and they're getting their point across, but because the adult can't handle, it's taken as disrespect.
She said a lot of people lack individuality due to their upbringing. They were raised to be seen and not heard. We talked about that. They were taught that
Yeah.
having autonomy is disrespectful. They're still wanting to people please. That oh my God.
And
Woo! Let's let that marinate right there. Thank you for
got
that.
had to drink on that one, yes.
Yes, thank you for that one. Thank you, T. That's it right there. But we have to get them out of the people pleasing because when you tap into identity, it's only the only person on the earth you're gonna think about, and we're not talking about in a selfish way because it is because I was not really a people pleaser, but I was really more so passive. I was very passive, but when when I stood up for myself as far as the marriage was concerned, it was when I decided to put me first. That was it. I decided to put me first. I decided to focus on, on me. When you have given someone of yourself and they've tried to make you feel like what you gave was not good enough, now it's time to reevaluate some things now.
This entire thing.
Yeah, it's time to now reevaluate some things. And so it was time for a reevaluation because I'm not taking responsibility for the fact that you make decisions to go do whatever you want to go do. It's like, okay, cool. It's time for me to make some decisions as well. And that was the beginning of me stepping into my own identity. Because you know what? As long as you people please and you let people run all over you, they're gonna be cool with it. They're not gonna stop.
No, because they benefit from that.
They're not gonna stop. The moment you stand up for yourself, it's gonna be a whole problem.
Because how dare you stand up for you
How
when I was
dare you?
using you? Now I can't use you no more.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Uh-huh.
Exactly. It was like this that I saw, I don't know what I was looking at, but these ants had to cross over this little divide. There was a divide. And the space wasn't really that big. So, they all kind of made a little chain. Okay. And it was about, I think it was like maybe four of them. So all four of them, got across. But then they left the last one by itself. And the caption was, after people get finished using you, they don't need you no more. And I remember just thinking when I saw that, but see, the one that was left by itself don't need you to cross over. I don't need you. One of the things I realized that if I can help you be successful, I can help myself. I feel like the biggest thing that adults struggle with is boundaries and autonomy. They're scared to ask for what they need or what they want out of guilt. Absolutely. But it also goes and all of that's part of the identity too. Because in your identity, you're going to create the boundary. Because after you've been people pleasing for so long, or after you've been giving of yourself and pouring of yourself with people, after a while, it's going to make you put a boundary there. It's going to make you put a boundary there. After you've been walked up one side and down the other side, there's no longer any autonomy anymore. Now I'm snatching the muzzle off now. Now I'm going to, because the people that's the quietest most of the time are the most powerful people in the room. It's not the people that's doing all the talking. Most of the time, the people that's the quietest, them the ones with the power. Now I'm taking the muzzle off. Now I'm taking off the muzzle. Now I'm getting ready to detect all the things. And what you find is that the person that's been doing all of the, because it's a form of bullying actually. When people try to take your voice from you and try to run all over you and make you feel guilty because of what you need and what you want, that's really what a bully is. But a bully for real is a scared punk. They're scared. And they think that they take your quietness and they take your kindness for weakness. Ain't no way in the world you can survive 23rd and Diamond Street and come out weak. That's just not even possible. That's not possible.
Wow.
Sometimes you don't say stuff to people because you don't want to rip their guts out and hand it back to them in their face. So you just spare them.
You know what? There's no appreciation for that. I mean, granted, it's a whole self gratitude. Like you know what I was capable of. You would leave me alone.
Leave me exactly.
But you don't. So you have to take that passive approach and just say, okay.
Exactly. All right.
Okay. Have a good day. Enjoy your night. Go get back in your car. Whatever the case may be. And it's like, don't.
So you got this one ant. He done helped all four people get across to the other side. They over on the other side. Ain't nobody come back to help him. Why? Because he don't need no help. He could get across by himself. Individuality. I always say to people that want to be married, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be married, but you cannot be two until you first become one. You must first become one. You must first be a whole individual first before you join yourself up with somebody else's life.
Did you say that again for the people in the back?
And if you lack identity, you will have no authenticity. If you have no authenticity, you will have no individuality. If you have no individuality, you cannot have a strong relationship. It's just that simple. We keep trying to be in these relationships and we don't know who they are, and then we get lost in the other person. Dante, you and them faces.
Because I've done it and I've been there, and it's such a relief once you actually get out and start doing things that remind you of you. You start
Right.
getting your identity back, and you realize, like, hindsight 2020, looking back, like, what the hell was I doing? Like, who was I in this actual person?
She said fact. T said facts. I always say I don't need anyone to complete me because I'm coming into the relationship whole. That's
Yeah,
it.
and that's that's another
That's
thing.
it.
People who are out here finding someone to complete you, like, run. If you're
Yeah.
not coming in whole already, you coming in here looking for something, and then you're going to take part of me. Nah, no,
You have to be a
go ahead.
whole you have to be a whole individual. You have to be a whole because if you're not whole, you're gonna be insecure. And insecure people cause so much drama with their insecure self. You don't go sit down somewhere and find out who you are. They so insecure. They always got something to say. Always got to be gossiping about something. Always got to be talking. Always fault finding. Always criticizing. Why? Because they lack identity. And if
Let me talk
you
about
lack identity, I don't even care if you got a dude in your life. You miserable. And
it. Yeah,
people
it
that
ain't
lack
just that.
identity, they are never satisfied. You cannot satisfy somebody who don't know who they are.
No, because there's going to be something. It'll be okay for a little bit, but every once in a while, if not common, it's going to happen. It's going to come up on a consistent basis. Like, this, what you want now?
They just
You're
they
not
just
even fun no
unhappy
more.
people. They unhappy and then they want you to be unhappy. So yes, it takes courage. No, it's not going to be popular. But if you ain't trying to win no popularity contest, what do you care? It is more important for you to come into the relationship whole. It is way more important for you to have identity. It's important for your children. It is not healthy. Let me tell you something. And I always talk about myself because that's what we do on this show. We come here and we share our own experiences. Do you know how
Hmm.
difficult it was to see your mother be beat and beat and beat? Every relationship after relationship, it is not a good thing for your child to see you allow somebody to run you over because it's going to affect the self-esteem of your child. The only reason why my self-esteem was not affected was because of my grandmother. My grandmother fostered identity in me. She fostered individuality. She fostered all the things that I'm sharing with you today. She fostered all of those things and she nurtured all of those things. She made sure that I had confidence in knowing who I was and standing up for myself when I needed to stand up for myself. It was difficult seeing my mother be beat with every revolving door relationship. And those of you that come on here consistently have heard me share how one boyfriend stabbed her up about almost 20, 25 times within inches of her life. So I'm not just talking about what I don't know about. I'm talking about what I experienced. And I'm talking to you about it because that's how vitally important it is. Because when somebody is a bully and they run you over, they're not going to stop. It's going to start with a push, then a slap, then a kick. The next thing you know, you're going to be getting straight out, full on beat. Because everything is a progression. Everything is a progression. And so your identity is of the utmost importance in this culture and in this world. It's important for you, your health, and it's important for your children to see you whole and to see you happy, whether you with a dude or whether you not with a dude. Stop trying to hang your happiness on somebody else's back. It ain't nobody else's job to make you happy. I've been saying that
your own
for
responsibility.
years.
Absolutely.
I've been saying that since I was a teenager. It's not nobody else's job to make you happy. You're supposed to share happiness that you already have, the peace that you already have, the joy that you already have. And if you ain't got it, you better go somewhere and find out how to get it.
Mm-hmm. All right, what we got? We had a time. You want me to close this out?
We got like 4 more minutes. I just want us to.
I was looking up at the top.
Begin to foster that. As far as like career wise, I remember taking like, what color is my parachute to figure out what career path I wanted to go on. And it's really interesting. Every time I used to take that test, I took it all the way up until my adulthood years. And I took it, I think the first time I took it, I was maybe in 10th grade. Number 1, sales. Number 2, business. Sales always was number 1. And I was like, I don't want to sell nothing. And guess what now? Now I teach how to sell. But it's the reason why I got into real estate was because every time I took the what color is my parachute test, sales was always number 1. And after a while, I said, you know what? Let me figure out what is it that I want to sell. So I was like, okay, I don't want to sell no little whatevers. Let me sell something that I really like. And that's how I ended up getting into real estate, because I took that test and it said my strong suit was sales. Another test you can take is called the Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's a personality test. These things are indicators that's going to help you identify. What does identify mean? Identify means to put a label on something. I want you to label yourself and stop letting other people put labels on you. Okay, before you put a Louis Vuitton, before you put a Balenciaga, before you put anybody's name, label, the labels that they tried to label you with as a child, whatever the label is, I want you to strip all of them off. Take all of those labels off of you. And I want you to begin to label yourself and find out what kind of personality do I have. Find out what your strengths are. Find out what your weaknesses are. Another test you can take is called the Big 5 personality trait. These are going to be indicators. I just came up with a new assessment that I'm going to be using for the young people. It's called Let's Play Tag. And TAG stands for talents and gifts. And it's an assessment for them to determine what their talents and what their gifts are. Because when we were growing up, and I'm dating myself, we played tag. She said people that haven't healed from their mother and father issues will always take those issues out or on their partners to heal them. We talked about that in several shows, mommy issues and daddy issues. And that's part of the conditioning. But we're talking about you finding your identity, because you have to find your identity separate from your mother and your father. because you're your own individual person. You may have some characteristics when you're dealing with things that you have to heal from. Those are things that really affect your personality, so to speak, in your soul area. And we talk about that. We're going to take some more deep dives into these subject matters. But I want you to do some work and to find out what are your weaknesses. Just sit down and just ask yourself some questions. It's going to help you determine what kind of jobs to apply for. It's going to help you in so many areas of your relationships. And when somebody introduces something to you that does not fit into that characteristic, that you don't identify, you don't have those qualities or those beliefs or those values or those interests, you're going to automatically know that's not for me. You're not going to have to take in everything that somebody dishes out. Go ahead, Dante. I hope that was all helpful for you guys. I get passionate about these things because I want you guys to, really, Dante is putting the links to some of these personality tests that you can take to help you to come into your own identity, so that we can foster and embrace your individuality, so that we can build strong relationships, and that we don't have to concern ourselves with who likes us and who don't like us and worry about what people say about us, because we done already labeled ourselves and we already strong in who we know we are. Period. Close us out now, time. And
That's really it. Your identity.
But
Your identity is your strength, and people are going to go off your strengths and, of course, your weaknesses. So establish your identity, establish your boundary, and walk in it. If you have children, your children are watching you. No matter what you try to hide, no matter what you try to not show them, or they're not paying attention, they're paying attention to everything. They watch everything. A lot of them, again, what's the saying? Do as I say, or not as I do, or something like that.
Right.
They're watching your movements. They hear your words, but they're watching what you do. Your identity is important. You have to walk in that. You cannot give that to someone else, because you give it to someone else, again, you're going down this whole twilight zone of who you are, especially once you get out of the relationship. It causes a lot of damage when you do that, because, again, you're looking to find yourself in someone else. You really can't, and then you're going through this whole thing of you don't know who you are. And as you get older, you're just literally a chameleon. You become the person that you're with to please them, because that's what you think that they want. Again, identity is very important. It's even in the government, somebody steal your identity, like, that's a federal offense.
Right.
Like,
good point, Dante.
it is a thing. You have to guard that. Your growth is your growth. You can't let no one take that away from you.
That's a good point, Dante. And it's interesting that you say that, because that's what the narcissist does. The narcissist literally comes in and steals your identity. Narcissists are literally identity thieves. And yes, you cannot. And the thing is that the reason why they're able to steal your identity, because you don't know what it is. You don't know how
so at that point, they shape it for you.
Exactly.
You don't know who you are? Let me tell you who you are. And then here comes the downplaying. Here comes well, let me boost you up so I can let you down.
Right.
Let me tell you everything that you are, and then once I get upset, tell you everything that you're not.
Because the crazy thing about the narcissist, they steal your identity because they see the value in it. They see the value in it. That's just like giving your child, a diamond ring, and they don't know that, wow, this is worth a lot of money. Your identity is worth a lot. It's worth a lot. That's why they want to steal it. Because it's worth so much, and you have to guard it. You have to first find out what it is, and then you have to protect it so that the identity thieves won't get it. So I hope this all was really good for you. Like and share, and sorry for the technical difficulty, but the show must go on. We will see you guys.
Well.